So again, the lid, the 2 waxing sticks on it, and I have it wedged to a floral foam, do you know that way? And they come plastic lined already, so you can add more water in there, you know that way, and you keep it kind of well topped up. So I'm just going to add our lid, and there's like 2 reindeers on it, they're lovely there. Just add our lid into the back of it. But you could add the lid crooked like the way I did, you know, with the smaller one. Now again, I have a little bit of silver Sussex cut up, and the same way, you know what I mean, you can see the way the middle is cut out of it. You see the way I've cut down in between the stem. And you might look at that yourself and you say, God, would you use that one with that bit? Yeah, absolutely. So just kind of, there's the other one. You see the middle is cut out of it. And again, just kind of like stick it. You see randomly. These are the little side shoots. You know them small little ones that do your head in? But you listen, we had to pay for them at some stage. So we might as well use them. And again, all my pieces are not the same length. You know that way, they're different lengths. And you can use any type of foliage. This was obviously, they have it for sale here. The proper name is Sussex Silver, which Gro told me today is a brand of a sheep or a variety of a sheep, which I didn't know. But at school, I always called it, all my life I've called it Silver Sussex. And I find a lot of students end up going into garden centres looking for the Silver Sussex, and they're saying, what are you talking about? There's no such thing. But it's the Case Flower School way of describing it. So that's just a few random pieces, you see, of the Silver Sussex just stuck down into the oasis. And then I have a few pieces, I'm looking for smaller ones, these ones will do. A few little pieces, these bowls are great. So a few little pieces of eucalyptus. So again, it was the eucalyptus that they had here for sale, and again, I kind of want to cut that smaller one off. So I cut kind of down in between it, and I'm using like the smaller pieces, the medium ones. People will say, Janette, did you cut them all the same length? Yeah, of course I did. There you go. So they're all the same length, you know that way. Like, I'm real casual about things like this. I just cut them, where sometimes, especially a beginner kind of starting off, this one's too big, so I'm cutting the middle out of it, and I've just made 2 pieces out of it. And sometimes, like a beginner starting off, they get too kind of fussy, you know that way. Don't be a fussy florist. You get too fussy about the lengths and the measurements, and everything ends up being perfectly measured, but the arrangement is a disaster, you know that way. The arrangement doesn't look nice. Where sometimes the more kind of casual you are about your flower arranging, and then you become a designer when you do that, you know that way. You're a designer. Make it up as you go along. Back. And then I'm going to add in a few little bits of the novelist or the spruce. Now again, you have to clean off the ends, which is a bit of a pain in the bum, because like the sticky sap that comes off the stem, it just seems to attract the dirt, and it embeds itself into the skin. As the random pieces of spruce, but you know what would be lovely, and I forgot to actually ask a road today, had you got any holly? I don't know whether they had or not, but a bit of holly would have been lovely going through this as well. So just randomly, a bit of straw in there as well, a few little pieces of the spruce. And the thing is, don't overdo it. Like the stick. Now, I'm not saying don't use foliage, you know what I mean, but just like kind of go a little bit less on them. Where in a flower shop, for us to buy in foliage, it's as dear as buying in flowers. Customers always think we get foliage for nothing. And they come in and they say, I'll throw a bit, that word, throw a bit in. That white fluffy stuff, throw a bit in. They always think all that stuff is free. So we'd nearly rather give them more flowers than give them like tons and tons of foliage. He gave me free reign of the fridge. So these are what we call Anastasia, or blooms. They're chrysanthemums. And at some stage, like there would have been like loads of little baby chrysanthemums coming out the sides. And the growers would have been cutting them off, you know, the way that all the energy went in, that you kind of got one flower. I'm personally not mad about chrysanthemums, you know that way. I'm just not mad about them. But I do like the blooms, you know, and I have them in a lovely green colour tonight as well. Oh, you got me a bit, Holly.
Nice and prickly.
I got to ask you. Yeah, he would give me the prickly stuff, wouldn't he? Anyway, I have 12 hands. So again, just kind of cutting down in between, where a lot of you would be after cutting off them fecky little side bits. You'd be all days trying to stick them in. So cut down in between the branch, you know, that way, leave a few of them together, and you kind of say, what about that? Again, you stick it down into the oasis. You won't even see that little bit, you know, that way. So there we go, just a little bit of holly going through it, and you can put as much or as little nicely. Okay, back to our blooms. We say you bought a mixed bunch, you know that way, and there was one of them in the bunch. So there you go, you put it down into the arrangement. There was only one in the bunch. And then you bought the mixed bunch, and there was a couple of these in it. These are called leucadendron. Think of rhododendron, leucodendron. They're actually a foliage, not a flower, believe it or not, but they do look like a flower. You know that way. We class them as a flower, but they are sold as a foliage. These will last probably till Patrick's weekend, well, maybe Valentine's Day. They last for ages, and they will open up the inside of them. Safari Sunset is the variety of them. So again, just cut them, clean off the leaves, and then you can put one in somewhere, and we just say there was 2 in this bunch, and I'm going to stick 1 in somewhere else. So again, randomly, do you know that way? No particular pattern at all. And then also in the bunch, was the gold in this bunch? I'm not sure. I think it was. I think this was in the mixed bunch that we bought, because we're fantasy here, by the way. So this is the skimmia, and it's sprayed gold, and that will last for ages, because the spray on it is like it has sealed it in, you know that way, so it can't really die inside it. It's a bit like Jamie Mac. Okay, a little bit of gold skimmia, do you see, going through it. But again, if it was the natural one, you know that way, if that's what you preferred, like, be brilliant. So again, a little bit over there and a little bit over there. Again, no particular pattern, you see, just stuck into it. And then also in the bunch there was a few gold twirly-whirlies, curly-whirlies. Tell me as you remember curly-whirlies. Okay, so you had a few curly-whirlies, and again, you can just randomly put them into the arrangement, you know that way, here and there. And we have a second one. And probably in work we'd keep them sticks, and we'd make like a bundle of sticks, and I'd wire it into one of the door reeds, you know, wrap a little bit of hand-tie twine around them, and make it like a little bundle of sticks, because there actually is people who do this. They make bundles of sticks and they sell them to us, the Dubs, and us Egypts buy them, do you know that way? And I'm sure you Egypts buy it as well. So there's just a few little bits, you see, just of the curly-whirly going through it, and I think we'll give it a curly-whirly. I love these things, they're just that little bit different. So just a little bit of kind of like movement into it. So again, maybe in the mixed bunch, there was another bit of the ilex berry, probably have it somewhere on the table. Put them all back in. I'm trying to pretend, you know that way, that we got a mixed bunch with a little bit of everything in it. So again, if I want a few little side pieces there, I can cut them off. And then if you want, you can kind of cut down into it and get kind of like a little bit taller, or you see, leave a few of them together if that's what you want. And again, just take off the outside berries there, that I can get that down into the floral foam. Take off the outside berries, stick it down into the floral foam, and you see just a little bit of berry going through it. This one is a bit short, it's going to be hidden kind of down there. But you might as well put it in. There's no point in throwing it in the bin. If you cut off something and it happens to be short, just try and get it in. You'll have a right job picking up them berries. And when you walk them into the floor, they're like chewing gum on the floor, you know, and they'll dry out. So just I've warned you, okay? But that'll be for the cleaners. So then you can get a couple of carnations. And you get your couple of carnations. And again, we're going to cut them, and you can see there's loads of heads, and I'm going to cut off the little green buds, or if the green bud is attached to the carnation head, that the customer is going to be waiting on them to open next Easter. We know they're not going to open, but everybody's convinced they'll open. So again, we're going to give them what they want, and just stick a few carnation heads through it. And you'll find like the red berry, you know what I mean, will actually start to show out a little bit more. Do you see when I bring in the red carnation? It kind of emphasises it. So this is kind of like, they often call it like an illusion in floristry, where if you just put in one of something in a colour, it'll stand out like a sore thumb. But if you use something else in a similar shade, so it's a bit like the one blue, but you see the leucodendron is a similar shade. But if I just had that on its own, it'd stick out like a sore thumb, or again the leucodendron. But just by using something else in a similar shade, it's a good way of kind of sorting it. Like I suppose the gold skimmia, by using the gold twirls, you know, that way kind of like mixes it around. Again, a few little carnation heads kind of going through that, just to kind of give you an idea there what it's looking like. So now going back to our box, and we have the red originum. Some people call this thistle. It's not really thistle, but it's kind of like, when you see it in the bluey colour, it does look like thistle. So I'm going to cut a few of these, like that. I could have cut some off that stem already, but you know what I mean, just like I have cut some off it. But you see the way you get loads on it. So even if there was one stem, and that one there, see the way it's short, I'm just going to clean down them bits that I cut off, and then I'll cut that one down there, you see, to get the extra bit of length off it. So again, pull off the little bit of foliage, and I'm going to use a couple of them going through the arrangement. So it's all about textures, you know, and that's where these hat boxes are great, is that you can use up the mixed bunches that you buy, you know, that way, or somebody gives it to you as a gift, or you get a bouquet of flowers as a present, you know, that way, and you're kind of wondering, well, how will I display this? If you get yourself a hat box, and then if you have enough flowers left over, you can always use up the mini hat boxes. But would you agree then hat boxes are good value, you know that way? But he only has one set of them left. It's unfortunate, isn't it? But he did say he's getting them in on Tuesday. Okay, I'm just going to add in another little bit of berry into this arrangement. I'm really just now a little bit of kind of like filling in kind of here and there, and I also want to put in a few little pine cones as well, so just filling these. Another tiny bit of berry. Here's my pine cones. We get a couple of these. So again, save your wires of course, make a little hairpin bend, and then you can stick your pine cones in. You could spray them gold if you want to. I'm going to leave them natural because I didn't bother me bum spraying them to start off with, but you could. Or again, you could use, you know, the gold lotus heads that I showed you earlier on. It was a different shade of gold. I was going to use them, but they were a different shade of gold, and that's why I said, oh no, it says I'll leave it, I'll just kind of go for the natural. I think there's maybe enough in that. Yeah. And if I had one of them single robins that could fly in the door there later on, I'd probably put a little robin, do you know, that way sitting on top of it. So somebody might, Ellen, when you're sitting on your bum, you know the single robins? Yeah. You can get one of them in a few minutes and then we can add it into it. Now, you